Alright, so this is sort of a backtread to an earlier video I did where I looked at the top 5 Christmas episodes. I didn't like that video, I only really did it because I thought I needed to do something for Christmas that year. But in that video I put like all the Simpsons Christmas specials in like number 3 or something because I don't know why. All of them besides Miracle on Evergreen Terrace. I think The Simpsons in its prime years and even a bit into its middle years was a pretty competent show when it came to having solid Christmas episodes. Like, it's kind of their bread and butter besides Halloween. It's like the series premiere was a Christmas episode. Marge Be Not Proud is looked at as an all-time great episode besides being a Christmas episode. And Skinner's Sense of Snow is an episode that I hold very dear because it's probably the last episode I remember heavily quoting in childhood, like when it came out. And even the Funzo one had its moments. But what I'm getting at here is, there's so many good Christmas specials that The Simpsons has given us, and then between all of those is this really bizarre bastard child of a Christmas episode. Miracle on Evergreen Terrace is a season 9 episode, so it's right in between the classic and middle eras where it still had certain shades of classic Simpsons but was transforming into what the show would become in season 10, 11, and 12. There's a weird thing about Simpsons Christmas episodes. Besides the first one and maybe some of the later ones I don't know, they kind of just start out like any other episode. They don't have a special credits sequence, like there might be a chalkboard or a couch gag referencing winter or the holidays, but for the most part it's treated like a regular episode, and I'm guessing this is for syndication purposes. This is an episode that I've seen many YouTubers slam on the internet. I've heard the real Jim speak down on it. I have not seen a lot of positive reception for this episode. It's either mid or just full-on negativity. And in conversation, a lot of people I know are like, I don't really like that one. That one's kind of weird. And that's understandable because this is such a bleak and mean-spirited Christmas special.
We gave them our vitamin money.
Hey, shoo, you lousy freeloaders! Come back when you get some parents!
And in all honesty, I think just looking at how bleak and mean-spirited it is upon a rewatch and going into it with a different mentality, it has altered my opinion on it to a point where I think this is probably the best Christmas episode besides Marge Be Not Proud, and I would put it up there with, Skinner's Sense of Snow. It's a bad episode, but it's like, that's bad, as opposed to, that's bad.
Uh-oh. This really restores your faith in— Lisa! Do you have to practice that stupid song now?
Sorry, Daddy.
Allow me to iterate. At times, the humor in this episode is just outrageously mean. Homer manages to go full jerk-ass in just the opening minutes of the episode by triple parking over 3 handicapped spaces and then stealing a bunch of people's purchases at a department store. I think it's the try and save or something. It always made me laugh that the Simpsons are shown to, on multiple occasions, procrastinate things until the last minute because, my family was also a lot like that growing up. And this is usually because our financial situation wasn't the greatest that season, or whatever. It didn't always have to do with money. In the context of The Simpsons, it's like their financial situation really depends on the episode. It's like an as-needed thing if they're poor or not. And they don't really show them as being like overly poor, they're just being really shitty and stealing everybody's purchases. The relatable part about this whole last minute thing is like I have memories of my mom putting off getting the Christmas turkey for whatever reason, sometimes as late as Christmas Eve, and then going to the grocery store like 2 hours before closing and having a meltdown trying to get a turkey. Both of my parents literally did everything at the last minute, so seeing Marge and Homer do the same thing is relatable, but also really funny. This episode feels almost like a fever dream when you watch it, and that's not just because Bart has a bunch of piss-related imagery in his dream after drinking an excessive amount of water in order to wake up early the next day.
That'll wake me up nice and early, and I'll have a big head start on opening presents. Pure genius.
You didn't invent that, Bart. The Indians used to drink water to wake up early for their attacks.
It's always about the Indians, isn't it, Lise?
The whole ebb and flow of this episode is just very bizarre, and some of the frames look weird and the coloring seems off. I don't know, it's just there's something off about this. This episode is the antithesis to Marge Be Not Proud. Marge Be Not Proud shows Christmas activities and has a cozy sort of feel to it and is very upbeat despite the storyline between Bart and Marge. Miracle on Evergreen Terrace just kind of breezes through all that, not only with the shopping scene, but it literally takes place on Christmas Eve, so we don't get much in the way of festivities and activities between the family besides Marge's cookies. I went a bit back and forth on it, but by the second act, Bart does what I honestly think might be the actual worst thing Bart has ever done in the entire series, at least unintentionally. After sneaking down in the morning to open presents, Bart opens his toy fire truck and decides to take it for a spin, but a series of poorly timed events causes Bart to set the plastic tree on fire. Something oddly foreshadowed when Marge mentions that they got rid of their old aluminum tree, which I didn't get get this joke before, but aluminum Christmas trees have not been popular since the 60s, and that actually makes it like a lot funnier than the concept of them just inexplicably having an aluminum tree. Maybe I'm dumb, maybe I'm just not in touch with my Christmas history, but take that as you will. I like that Bart actually tries to put out the fire, but is thwarted by a very poorly made sink hose with no pressure. Like, that is a line I quote, sometimes verbatim, sometimes in a completely different context with different words, but like the tone is all I really need to make that work. It's like, ugh, who runs this YouTube page?
Who designed this house?
The way this is storyboarded and the use of sound as the tree just melts down makes this really like dark, but it's not like that dark, it's just kind of messed up. Then you have Bart deciding to conceal the evidence, so he buries the tree in the front yard, and in order to divert responsibility, he basically lies and makes up a big story.
I saw a burglar and he got all our stuff. Including the tree.
This is where the episode gets kind of depressing, because getting robbed on Christmas, well, quote-unquote robbed, is probably one of the worst things that could happen to a family with children. And then to further twist the knife, the family decides to go to the old folks' home, not to visit Grandpa, who was rejected from Christmas earlier.
For once, we're gonna celebrate Christmas as a family.
Hello? Anybody home?
But in Homer's words,
Okay, but they'll have to be pretty damn miserable to make me happy.
like, that just makes them even more mean-spirited, but it's really funny. They just want to gawk at how miserable the old people are in order to feel better about themselves. I love how everybody in Springfield has this over-exaggerated, like, perfect Christmas. Like, for example, Rod and Todd have a goddamn pony, and the Hibberts are just riding snowmobiles. It makes me think, who wrote this? Because this is where it's kind of feeling fever dreamy. And the fact that it's just so exaggerated, and, like, everybody's having, like, the best Christmas possible, but the Simpsons are having like the worst Christmas possible.
Hey, look what I got, Bart! Tickle me crusty!
Hey, kid, get your finger out of there.
Ow!
Homer!
It feels so devoid of heart, and I kind of think that was the point of this episode. To make the most heartless, mean-spirited Christmas special they could, and quite frankly, they succeeded. Like, even when it seems like things are gonna be looking up, like the town comes together and raises all this money for the Simpsons on Christmas after the burglary story gets around, like the Simpsons family doesn't even really get to enjoy it. Bart starts to actually feel guilty for his lie, and to take it a step further, the new car they bought with the money just gets destroyed as they're driving it off the lot. And honestly, watching this back, I totally forgot about the car scene, and it kind of tripped me out a little bit. Like, I don't watch season 9 a lot. I'm not a huge fan of season 9. Like, it's got some high highs, but some of the lowest lows. But, like, going through it again, I'm like, I forgot about a lot of gags in this episode, and I think it's because I used to just skip over it, but it's pretty funny. I don't know why I always skipped it. Maybe it's because I didn't like it at the time, or maybe it's like, I don't want to watch a Christmas episode in the middle of April, which is funny because I can watch a Halloween episode whenever. But anyway, moving on. It just kind of goes on like this until Bart confesses and Lisa and Homer snap.
You little...
Lisa, no! Your hands are too weak!
I'm gonna kill you!
No, I'm killing him first! You wait your turn!
But then the Simpsons decide they have to maintain the facade, and you think, oh, it's going to be a whole thing. But no, like seconds after they decide to maintain it, the whole news crew uncovers the tree in the front yard. Immediately now the town thinks that the Simpsons are no good swindlers, and the family become pariahs. Alex Trebek has a cameo, and this is where the weird animation shit comes in, because he looks really awkward here, and like usually I'm able to overlook it because of how hilarious it is that Marge went on Jeopardy and blew it, and then Trebek tried to strong arm her into paying the money. But like, why does he look like that? Why is this whole sequence really off? Keep in mind, I'm sure there's explanations to this like in the commentary tracks, but I didn't watch the commentary tracks, so bleh. The conclusion to this isn't really an upbeat or happy one. It's not exactly sad. It's kind of like a bittersweet one.
My, they've forgiven us. It's a miracle. You know, deep down, people are pretty Hey, wait a minute. They're taking our stuff!
Because the town steals everything from them, but then they call it even and forgive them. In Moe's words,
well, we hated being mad at you, Homer, so we decided to make things right. Consider your debt repaid, neighbor.
And then some.
And the final scene is just the Simpsons family sitting in an empty home together on the holidays. But hey, at least they have each other, right? And a washcloth. Actually, this whole thing, I don't know if it's supposed to be like inverting the Aesop or whatever, that like, all you need is each other on Christmas, because they start fighting over like the last material possession in the house, but they're also having fun, so I don't know. It reminds me of the end of Rosebud. Not, the plot or anything, but just what Marge says to Lisa after.
Marge, I'm confused. Is this a happy ending or a sad ending?
It's an ending, that's enough.
Miracle on Evergreen Terrace is just a really bizarre episode, even in Season 9, which has a few pretty bizarre episodes. And what I mean by that is it's just such an odd creature that, while I initially hated it, in trying to understand it, I kind of grew to love it. It's the anti-Christmas special. Nothing good happens, nobody learns a lesson, and its jokes and gags are all pretty mean-spirited, and it borders on dark. Like, not like Homer's Enemy dark, but there's a certain feeling of like, it's just not a happy episode. Had I ranked it with just my plain original mindset, I probably would have given it a 3 out of 10, but going into it open-minded and reassessing it and trying to look at it for what it is, Miracle on Evergreen Terrace earns itself a 6 out of 10, slightly above average. It's not a great episode, but I did laugh quite a bit at it when I looked at it with a different perspective. It's the anti-Christmas episode, as I said, and a solid one at that. It's kind of unique because The Simpsons really doesn't go for like anti-whatever episodes. Like, they do, but they don't. It's very, like, I can't even explain it. It's The Simpsons anti-Christmas special. And I truly don't think that this episode deserves all the hate that it gets. Because the last few Christmas episodes they did had these schmaltzy endings that were all overly sentimental and gooey, and it's nice for them to just do something that just kind of makes you feel empty at the end of it. I have a great respect for this episode that I didn't have before, so yeah, I don't know. Maybe if you have like a similar opinion to what I used to have on this episode, go give it a rewatch and just go into it with like the mindset that I've told you to have, and you might actually enjoy it more. So what did you think of Miracle on Evergreen Terrace? Let me know in the comments. And I got one more little Christmas video up my sleeve, and then I'm gonna kind of go back into my little hole because I am working on a few other videos. The RoboCop deep dive is coming. That is like going to be a 2-hour long video, which, what have I gotten myself into? But yeah, I got one more video for Christmas that I'm gonna provide to you, the people who follow my channel. So like, subscribe, and I'll see you in a few weeks.
It's craptacular.
Hooray, hooray, oh, hear the merry sleigh. Yes, sir. Jingling, 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 Santa's on his way. Oh, Santa. Be good, the way you know you should. He's got some toys for girls and boys who promise to be good. Oh. Got a bike for Billy and a doll for Jane. Got a dress for Mary and a sewing game. A plane for Johnny and a cowboy gun. He's got something for everyone. Hooray, hooray, hooray. Oh, hear the merry sleigh. Jingling, 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 Santa's on his way.